Hey everybody, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and in today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play More Than Words by Extreme. You know, one of the most classic and beloved acoustic fingerpicking songs that you'll ever find. We're going to learn it in the simplest way possible. We're still going to figure out how to do it like the recording, but we're just going to go over it in a way where we work through each bit and practice everything, you know, rather than just say like, all right, next do this, here's the song. You know, we're actually going to work our way through it and figure out how to practice this thing so that you can get better. If along the way you find you need any extra help, I have a free ebook. It's completely free for all my subscribers that goes over all the basics of acoustic guitar. You can check that out. I'll put a link to that in the corner. Otherwise, let's just jump right in. The first thing that I want to take a look at is the very first part of the song. It goes like this. And that is going to be one of the most important things that we learn. We have two chord shapes there. There's a G and then C add 9, which is like the G chord, except you just take these two fingers and you just move them over. And the other really important element here is that string smack. And to do that, let's just strum the chord so we have something ringing. And then I'm just going to have my hand in the same kind of finger picking position that it would normally be in. And I'm primarily getting my thumb to just smack against the strings, as well as my fingernails. You know, I basically just have my hand in a really loose fist, and I just let it come down on the guitar. You know, and this is used in like a ton of songs. So it's a really worthwhile technique, you know, to spend some time with. But that's it, you know, the G chord, the C add 9 chord, and that smack. And then we're going to put that together with a little bit of a pattern. My thumb is picking the thickest string, and my index, middle, and ring are on the top 3 strings. And that's going to be the case for pretty much the entire song. You know, my index is going to be on the G string, my middle finger is going to be on the B string, and my ring finger is going to be on the E string. It's like they each own that string. They're each in charge of that string, you know. So my fingers are on the top 3 strings, and my thumb is going to be going between the 3 thicker strings, depending on what chord I'm playing. With G, it's on the thickest string. We go smack. So thumb, fingers, smack. So work on that a bit, and moving on from there, we're going to move our thumb to the A string, same chord shape, and we pluck thumb, index, and middle all together. And then we pluck the top 3 strings, and then we do a smack. So we go smack. So work on that, and then we can put that together with what we have so far. 3, 4. And now we're going to go to our C add 9 chord. We're going to do the same picking pattern. So our thumb, index, and middle all together. And then the top 3 strings, just our fingers, and a smack. And when we put that all together, that is like 60% of what we do in the song, just with different chord shapes, you know? So it's really worth your time to work on that. Now, moving forward, we're still on our C add 9 chord. We go, so we pluck just our thumb, then all our fingers, and then just our thumb, index, middle, and then a smack, all in a row. And that's another one of those rhythms that'll come up again, you know, so take some time with that. Moving on, we end up on A minor 7, and that's just like a C chord except without our ring finger. You know, we're just holding down 2 notes, and we play. So let's break that down. So we start out doing a pattern that we're familiar with, thumb, index, and middle, then these 3 fingers, then a smack, and then, and that's pretty similar to what we did on C add 9, except we have a little note that's changing. We go thumb by itself, and then we add our pinky to the 3rd fret of the thinnest string. We pluck with all our fingers, we remove our pinky, pluck with all our fingers, and then we do a smack. So now, before we put this whole A minor thing together, another thing that I want to point out is that some chords will start right on beat 1, and sometimes they'll start before beat 1. It's called like a push, so you're like pushing into the chord shape early. So this A minor 7 is one example of that. You know, we're going to start on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and, you know, we're starting on the and just before 1. We're playing the chord a little bit early, right? So be aware of that. We're going to play now all this A minor, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Moving on from there, we're going to push into a C chord, a plain old C chord this time. Same old thing where we do thumb and index, fingers, smack. And now we end up on a D chord, and we're going to go. So we have our D chord, our thumb makes its way to the D string, and we pluck all the strings together, all 4. Then just our index, which is always playing the G string. Then we put our pinky down on the 3rd fret of the thinnest string to make a D sus4 chord, and we play with just our ring and middle finger. So treat this like a little, you know, like a little lick. We go. All together, index, D sus4 with the top 2 strings, and then a smack. And that is the intro as well as the verse. We just repeat everything that we've learned so far. And it's important to note that when we repeat it, you know, once we get to the end of everything we just learned, we're going to go back to the start, back to G, but we're going to push into that G chord. So we're actually going to play the first pluck early. So at the very start of the song, we play the G chord on beat 1, but on every subsequent repeat, we're playing it early. You'll see what I mean, because I'm going to play this thing now a few times in a row, nice and slow. We can even play it together, or you can just watch and see what's going on. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... So you keep repeating that over and over again, and that gives us the intro as well as the first 8 measures of the verse. Now from this point, we're going to play that same thing, but right after that little D sus4 thing, we're going to head into an E minor chord. So we're pushing into that E minor. It's just a plain old E minor chord. My thumb is on the thickest string. My fingers are in the same spot that they're going to be on the whole tune. And we go thumb and fingers together, fingers, smack. From there, our thumb switches to the A string. We're still on the same shape. We go thumb, index, middle, and then our fingers, and then a smack. You know, that classic more than words pattern that we keep playing over and over again. So all of the E minor part, remember, we push into it on the and just before 1. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and smack. Then we're going to go to an A minor 7, and it's just the same as before. So we've already worked on that. Then we're going to go into a D7 chord, and a D7 shape looks like that. So my first finger is on the note C, which is the 1st fret of the B string, and then my middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string, and my ring finger is on the 2nd fret of the thinnest string. It's kind of like a mirror image of the regular D chord. We go. So we start out by plucking the A string, and then we pluck the D string along with our fingers. We smack, and then we pluck those same 4 strings again and again. So all in all, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and smack. So let's review everything from the E minor chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now here we're going to play a really common like chord cliche. We're going to go G, D over F sharp, E minor, which is in like thousands of songs. So we have our G chord, and we're going to pluck our thumb on the thickest string and our fingers all together 2 times, smack. Then we go to D over F sharp, and D over F sharp, from our G chord, we're going to leave our ring finger down. We put our index on the 2nd fret of the thickest string and our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. And we're just going to do thumb, index, middle 2 times, smack, and then our E minor chord, thumb and all our fingers, and then just our fingers, smack. So it's always 2 hits and then a smack. Let's try this nice and slow. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And now we play that E minor, A minor 7, D thing once again. It's the exact same thing that we did before. And here, instead of going to G, we're going to go to G7. And G7, it's kind of like a C chord. Like if you made a C chord and then you just took these 2 fingers, your middle and ring finger, and you just put them towards the thicker strings, and then you took your first finger and you put it on the thinnest string. So it's like a C chord, but we just kind of spread everything out. And we go thumb on the thickest string and our fingers all together, and then just our fingers and a smack. Then I'm going to pluck the A string with my thumb, and then my fingers, smack. So. Then we get into a C chord. And on the C chord, we pluck our thumb on the A string and our fingers all together, then just our fingers, and then a smack. And then we go, which is similar to things that we did before, but even simpler because no notes are changing. So thumb, and then our thumb and fingers together 2 times, and a smack. So going from G7 to C, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And here we're going to go into a C minor chord, and C minor is a bar chord. And C minor comes from the A minor shape. So if you played the A minor shape with these 3 fingers, just like that, middle, pinky, ring, and then you went up 1, 2, 3 times, and then you bar the 3rd fret with your index finger. That gives you a C minor shape. And our pattern goes, so thumb, index, middle together, then just our index and middle, smack, and then thumb and fingers together, and then thumb, index, middle, and a smack. So that second half of the C minor, all of the C minor part, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and smack. From C minor, we have to hustle into a G chord. You know, this is probably the quickest switch that we have to make. We hustle into our G chord and we go. So thumb, index, middle together, then our fingers and a smack, a pattern we're very used to at this point. And then there's another kind of like a chord lick that we have to play. So we start on a G chord, we pluck with our thumb on the thickest string, and then we pluck our thumb and fingers together 2 times. And then I'm going to let go of my middle finger. I'm going to put my index on the 2nd fret of the thickest string, just that string. And then we're going to go to an E minor shape, but we're going to leave our pinky down. So it's E minor plus our pinky on the thinnest string at the 3rd fret. and we pluck thumb and our fingers together. So all together. Work through the motions. This is one of those things that you got to do super duper slowly and just work through the motions at your own pace, like in stop motion time, and then eventually add some rhythm to it. 1 and 2. And moving on from there, once we get to that E minor chord, we have to do something kind of special with this too. So this is, in my opinion, the hardest part of the song. On the E minor chord, we're going to go. So we just came out of that riff, we played our thumb and fingers all together. Then we're going to move our thumb to the A string, and we're going to play thumb and fingers together. We do a smack. We move our thumb to the D string, and we play thumb and fingers together. Thumb goes back to the A string, and then a smack. So that entire E minor part, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2, with the G part right before it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I recommend taking some time with those two measures. You know, I know I had to prepare for this lesson, right? That's definitely has the most different stuff in it. You know, it's not really following the pattern at that point. Anyways, all that's left in the verse or pre-chorus, whatever you'd call this portion of the song, we have an A minor 7, and we're going to strum it with our index finger. So I'm starting on the A string, and I just carry it through. 'Cause and then a D chord. Ready, no. And the D chord, just the top 4 strings. So I want to play through the entire verse now, just so you can see how this whole thing goes together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's the first verse. The second verse is identical, except at the very end on that D chord, we go. So we play a D chord for beats 1 and 2, 1, 2, and then we play a D7 flat 9 chord, which is the same shape as D7, but 1, 2, 3, you know, so our ring finger lines up with the 5th fret. 'Cause all right, so at this point, we're about halfway there. Next, we have the chorus. And the chorus starts out just hanging out on a G chord with a pretty repetitive pattern. We go. So that's just like the G part at the very start of the entire song, like the first thing we learned. But we just stick to G instead of changing to C add 9 and so forth. We go thumb, fingers, smack, then our thumb on the A string with just our index and middle, then our fingers, smack, and then we push, our thumb's on the thickest string again, smack, thumb index middle, and and then our fingers smack. So we just go between the thickest string and the A string, and the pattern is going thumb, index, middle, fingers, smack. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we go to D over F sharp, and remember we pivot off of our ring finger to make it easier, and we go. So there's no smacks here. We're just playing thumb, index, middle, and then our fingers, and then we do that again with a bit of rhythm. We go 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then from there we go into an E minor chord. So our thumb and our fingers together, then a smack, then our thumb goes to the A string, and just thumb, index, middle, and a smack. Then we go to a B minor 7 chord, and B minor 7 is just like that C minor chord, but we're going down 1 fret to the 2nd fret, and then we're removing our pinky finger. And for this chord, we have our thumb and middle together, then our index, and then our ring and middle finger. So there's a bit of a pattern here, you know, it's not the thumb fingers sort of thing. We're actually breaking it down a little bit. Thumb and middle, index, and then those 2 fingers on the top, and a smack. And that goes into a C chord with just our thumb, index, and middle. So I like to practice just that part, E minor, B minor 7, and C, like a billion times. You know, that's another one of the really tricky spots in this tune. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And from here, we're going to hang out on the C chord for quite a while, just like we did with G before, going. So thumb, index, and middle together, then our fingers, and a smack, then, so that's thumb, and then our thumb and fingers together 2 times, followed by a smack, and then our fingers all together again, 2 times, and a smack, and 1 more time, smack, and then we go to G over B. So we just need our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the A string and our pinky finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and we go. So thumb on the A string and then our index and middle, and then our A minor 7 chord with our thumb on the A string and all our fingers. So that's another one of those little things that we would practice, going C, G over B, A minor 7, just like this. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then here on this A minor 7 chord, we pluck our thumb and fingers together 2 times, smack, and then we go, just like we have a few times already. And then we go into our D chord. Our thumb is on the D string, thumb and fingers together twice, smack, D7 chord, pluck, smack, pluck, smack, and then into our G chord. We're pushing into it, and it's the same thing that we started out with in the chorus. So we just repeat the same thing. So let's actually take a moment to put some of this together. Right from the beginning of the chorus. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then we would repeat that entire thing, but at the very end, once we get to the D chord, we're just going to strum it. just with our finger. So it's the same thing, but at the end we go. So that's the bulk of the tune. That's like, 99% of the hard stuff. All we have left now at this point are, just filling in a few sections. Following everything that we just played, we have an interlude, which is just like our intro, except we're going to cut it off a little bit early by strumming a couple chords. So the interlude goes like this. So we just replaced the last two measures with A minor and D, just strumming them with our index finger. From there, we play our verse again, we play our chorus again, and then we play our intro 2 times, and then we have our outro. And the outro, we start on a G chord, and we're gonna go. So we're doing a bit more of an arpeggiated pattern here. Our fingers are still on the top 3 strings. Our thumb plucks the thickest string, thumb, index, middle, index, and then ring, middle, index, and then our thumb hits the thickest string again. Then we go to D over F sharp, and we're going to do the same pattern. Then D minor over F, and that's pretty much the same shape, except we're just going to move our index finger down to the 1st fret of the thickest string. Same pattern. And then we go to E sus, and that is, we're going to play an E minor chord with these 2 fingers, and then we're going to put our ring finger just underneath it on the 2nd fret of the G string. So it's like an A chord, but moved up, or moved over to the thicker strings. And here we're going to drag our thumb along the 3 thickest strings. Thumb, 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 and then index, middle, ring, middle, index. So we're just going up and then back down a little bit. Then we go to the A minor 7 chord and we do a similar thing, but here we're going to start on the A string. So thumb on the A string, thumb on the D string, then index, middle, ring, middle, index, and then we pluck the A string again, and then we pluck the D string, open, and we do a crazy finger tapping thing that I didn't learn, and I could learn it in the future if there's enough demand. I would put in the time, but it's one of those things, it's like I can't play it, but it's like that, but a million times better than what I just did. You don't have to play it though. You could just go and just let a D chord ring out beautifully. And then we go to our G chord. My thumb is on the thickest string for the first note. Then I go to the D string with it and I go thumb, index, middle, ring, and I descend, middle, index, thumb. I go to a C chord and I go thumb and middle, index, ring, middle. So my thumb's on the A string, index, ring, middle. Then I make a G chord, but I don't have to put my middle finger on the thickest string. I just need the other 3 notes. And I do the same pattern. Then I lower my index finger to the 1st fret of the A string, same pattern. And then on the A minor 7 chord, I'm going to ascend. I have my thumb on the A string, thumb on the A, thumb on the D, then index, middle, ring, and then we do a little lick. We put our pinky on the 3rd fret of the thinnest string, and we slide it up to the 5th fret, and then we play the 3rd fret. And then we strum a G chord. So the outro all together, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Finger tapping. So that's how you play More Than Words by Extreme. I recommend at this point taking the time to work through each section, just like we did in this lesson. This is one of those songs that you're gonna have to break down, learn little pieces of it and then glue it all back together. And the way that I laid it out in this lesson is conducive to that. When I said, hey, let's practice this together, that's the kind of stuff that you gotta keep working on over and over again. If you want a full playthrough where I play through the entire song from start to finish, that's available on my Patreon page. I'll put a link to that down below. Also down below, you'll find a link to my free ebook, which is completely free to all my subscribers, as well as my course, Fingerpicking Mastery, which is all about fingerstyle guitar. It teaches you all the techniques, everything from the ground up. It's a very beginner-friendly course, especially at the beginning, and then we gradually go step by step into some more intermediate and even a little bit of advanced territory with tons of different techniques. I basically picked a ton of the fingerpicking songs that everybody wants to learn, and I disassembled those into all the fundamental techniques and kind of put that in order. So that's worth checking out if you want to improve your fingerstyle. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave a comment if you have any questions, and have a fun time practicing. I'll see you soon.